This scam turned stolen personal data into fraud pipelines that cost victims millions worldwide. Across the US, UK, Europe, and Asia, data breaches exposed emails, passwords, and financial details at massive scale. That information was not just leaked, it was sold, reused, and weaponized for targeted scams. Victims began receiving messages that already contained their personal information. The familiarity made the fraud feel legitimate, increasing the chance of immediate response. In many cases, accounts were taken over or payments were triggered within hours. According to FBI data, breaches and related scams remain among the most reported cybercrimes globally. What made this scam powerful was not the breach itself, but how stolen data was turned into continuous fraud. As digital services expanded, companies began storing large volumes of user data across platforms. This included emails, passwords, phone numbers, and sometimes financial or identity information. Over time, multiple high-profile breaches exposed this data to unauthorized access. Instead of being contained, much of this information circulated through underground marketplaces. Data was categorized, packaged, and sold based on its usefulness for fraud. In reported cases across the US and Europe, the same user data appeared in multiple breach datasets. Many individuals were unaware that their information had been exposed years earlier. This created a persistent risk where old data could be reused in new scam operations. The scam typically began when stolen data was matched to active accounts or recent activity. Scammers used emails and phone numbers to initiate contact through messages, calls, or login attempts. Because the information was accurate, the communication appeared legitimate from the start. Some messages referenced real services, recent transactions, or partial account details. Victims were prompted to reset passwords, verify accounts, or respond to urgent alerts. In several cases across the UK and Asia, users acted quickly because the details matched their real usage. Links were provided that led to fake login pages designed to capture additional credentials. At this stage, the scam extended the breach by turning static data into active access. Once engagement began, the scam shifted into account access and transaction control. Captured credentials were used to log into accounts or reset passwords. In some cases, multi-factor authentication codes were requested under the pretext of verification. Victims unknowingly provided these codes, allowing full account takeover. Financial accounts, email services, and payment platforms were then accessed directly. Transactions were initiated, or additional contacts were targeted using the compromised account. In multiple reports, a single breach led to a chain of access across different services. The system converted exposed data into ongoing control over digital identities and financial activity. As more breaches occurred, the volume of available data increased across underground markets. Data sets were combined, enriching profiles with multiple layers of personal information. Scammers used automated tools to test credentials across different platforms at scale. Successful logins were flagged and reused for further exploitation. In reports from Europe and Asia, the same credentials were used across banking, email, and shopping services. Operations began segmenting data by value, targeting higher balance accounts more aggressively. Networks shared and resold access, turning a single breach into multiple fraud opportunities. What began as isolated leaks evolved into a continuous supply chain for global scam activity. Over time, consistent warning signs appeared across breach-related scam incidents. Unexpected password reset emails or login alerts were often the first indicator. Messages referencing real account details but asking for immediate action were common. Users noticed unfamiliar login locations or devices appearing in their account activity. Multiple accounts were affected in a short period due to reused credentials. Links in emails or messages often led to domains that closely resembled official websites. Agencies like the Federal Trade Commission and Interpol warned about these patterns. The challenge was that these signs appeared alongside real data, making them harder to dismiss. As incidents increased, international agencies began mapping how breached data was reused in scams. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and Europol tracked marketplaces where stolen data was bought and sold. Investigators identified credential stuffing tools used to test millions of login combinations automatically. Data from separate breaches was combined to build more complete victim profiles. In several cases, coordinated takedowns targeted forums distributing large breach datasets. Blockchain and payment analysis linked profits from multiple scam types back to the same networks. Cybersecurity teams worked with platforms to enforce stronger authentication and monitoring systems. The investigation showed that breaches were not isolated events, but the starting point of a wider fraud ecosystem. This scam showed that a data breach is not the end of the event, but the beginning of ongoing risk. Stolen information does not expire. It remains usable across multiple scams over time. The system works by turning static data into active access through repeated exploitation. What failed was not just security at the point of breach, but behavior after exposure. Reused passwords and delayed response allowed attackers to extend the impact. Experts now emphasize unique credentials, multi-factor authentication, and regular monitoring. The broader risk extends beyond individual accounts to entire digital identities. The long-term lesson is clear. Protecting data once is not enough. It must be continuously secured.